Okay, thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. I am Janae Hancock. Right now, I do want to get straight over to this interview. I'm sure you all are joining right now because you have a lot of questions, you have a lot of concerns, and of course, we have answers for you. These two guys right here, this is Mike and Michael of Vaught, and they work over at Larry L. Vaught Roofing Company. Guys, how's it going today?
Going pretty well.
Doing good.
Good. Okay, so I know, like I mentioned, our viewers are joining in because they do have a lot of questions and concerns, especially after the storms that we had on Friday. A lot of them are still picking up the debris in their neighborhoods and communities. And so I do have to ask you guys, you said you've received a lot of calls coming from all over the area, but especially in the Overland Park area. Is that correct? I know they were hit pretty bad.
That is correct.
So what do people need to know before they file claims regarding their roofs, and how do you even know if you are eligible to do so?
Well, first, I mean, it's fairly obvious if they got a big tree branch laying on the roof, they probably want to call their insurance company. But just the extent of the storms, I'm sure there were some smaller branches that might have bounced off the roof and may not be on the roof still. So, best thing to do is if you think you have any sort of damage, call a roofer first. Do your research before you call. Obviously, I'm going to say call Larry L. Vaught Roofing first. But if you know of another roofer or do your research and choose another, that's fine. But have a roofer check first because if you do call your insurance company and have them come out and they say there's no damage, there's still pretty good likelihood your rates are going to go up. Whether they pay you anything or not, they take any kind of claim, whether they pay or not, as a black mark against you.
Right. And you know, I mentioned it earlier. Right now, we are taking a look at that video from Friday, just a little bit of the video we received as far as people getting storm damage to their homes and their properties. I do want to ask you all, we mentioned that a lot of people have been calling and regarding the damage that they've received all throughout the area. What are you all hearing? Are you hearing mostly that there are a lot of trees on properties, or what kind of calls are you all receiving so far?
I don't take the call. My secretaries do, but just from what I've overheard, mostly it's tree limbs, branches, trees in their entirety falling on roofs and houses. I would assume, there were some pretty high winds to knock those trees and limbs down, so there's probably just a lot of missing shingles also. I didn't hear of any hail to speak of, but wind and trees falling on houses do plenty of damage in their own right.
Right, in scary situations there, and typically, what is not covered within claims regarding your roof?
Typically, I mean, if you've got replacement cost insurance, a homeowner's policy, it should cover pretty much everything as far as the roof goes. I don't know a whole lot about, driveways or lawns or that sort of thing, or if you have fences, but I think most homeowners' properties cover just about everything that might be damaged by a storm. Um, I do know insurance companies are getting a little more strict about completely covering roofs. I mean, newer policies may have a higher deductible for any roof claims,
Mm-hmm.
or may even have a based on a percentage of the property value. But that's just uh, from policy to policy. The homeowner would have to check to see or ask their agent.
And so before people even reach out to you all or maybe a different roofing company, you guys are just tips wise, I should ask. It is important that they know what their deductible is on the policy before they even think about reaching out to you guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. Because depending on the type of damage, you may get a full replacement, but not for little scratches here and there, or even just a small hole in your roof. Though an insurance company would probably more likely just say it's a repairable roof. Um, and the small repairs, I mean, they can range from $200 to $500, give or take. But so if your deductible is a little more than that, then definitely not worth calling your insurance company and take the risk of getting a higher premium.
Right, and so I do want to take a look at some more video that we have. This is on a car right now, exactly. It's just an unfortunate situation for a lot of people in our area after that storm on Friday. You can see some people here still picking up the debris, like I mentioned. But you know, if people do have severe damage to their properties, especially their roofs, are you all suggesting that people file a claim right away?
Well, if you got an entire tree laying on your house and it's broken through to the living room, yeah, you don't have much doubt that you've got some insurance coverage. I'm just the only time I wouldn't just immediately is if there is some doubt to how much damage you have. I mean, if it's obvious that like say you got holes in the roof and your fence is smashed with the tree laying on it, that's an obvious claim. If you just see a few small limbs, maybe branches laying on your roof, maybe they didn't do any real damage. So in that case, yeah, call a roofer and let them inspect the roof.
Okay, and so I want to put myself in this situation. So let's say that I have a huge tree just on top of my house right now in this moment. I file a claim. What happens next? Do you all come to my property? Do you guys have a wait list currently right now? What happens next?
We don't currently have a wait list, although in severe storms we do get backed up pretty good, and most roofers do. Um, if you have a big tree on your house or big limb, then yeah, the tree company's probably going to be the first one to come out. A roofer could come out and take a look, but most of us, at least us anyway, I can't speak for the others, but we're not tree companies and don't have chainsaws and the guys with the skills to safely remove the branches. I mean, from a big tree. So a lot of times we have to wait for the tree service company to remove the tree before we can repair the roof. But we can pretty well assess the damage before the tree's removed. So yeah, acting quickly in that situation is a good thing.
Right, and so when there is damage to the roof, you all assess the damage. Like you mentioned, you come out and do that. And then what typically happens after that?
Well, and then your insurance company, yeah, if you haven't called them yet, we would say, yeah, you better make a claim because I'm looking at least $2,000 worth of roofing work here, not to mention the tree. Um, so yeah, if you haven't called, then you call the insurance company. They usually, depending on how widespread the damage is, they may call in catastrophe adjusters to help expedite things. They do get backed up too. Usually they're fairly quick. I can't speak for any insurance companies in particular, but in this situation, I would think within a couple, 3 days anyway, they ought to get somebody out. And they will advise you that, again, if you have a tree laying on your roof and it's caved something into where if it rains, you're going to get more interior damage, they will authorize temporary repairs, in which case roofers like us, probably tree companies too, can install some tarps over the roofs, over the damaged areas to prevent any more water damage. So, yeah, once the insurance is involved, you may need temporary repairs done until they can get out. And once they get out, they'll assess their damage, write an estimate, and then I know in our case, most times their estimates don't get everything. They're pretty good, but they're not roofers or jack of all trades, so to speak. They got to assess tree damage and roofing and everything else. So when we see the estimate, say, oh, well, they forgot the starter course or whatever, and then we'll not argue with them, but just point out, hey, you've missed this, missed that, need more of this, and get their estimate up to where it should be.
And so I know a lot of people are still dealing with obviously the storms from Friday, but we do have some severe weather that we're keeping an eye on here at KCTV5 for the coming days, starting tomorrow. So what advice do you have for people? Is there even a way to prepare for severe weather to make sure that they are protecting their roofs?
I just make sure you've had it looked at by a qualified roofer within last couple years anyway. Roofs do age continually, and if you haven't, if it's brand new, for the first 5 years, you're probably good to go. But after that, getting a roofer out to look at your roof every couple, 3 years anyway, is a good idea to make sure something hasn't been blown off or just cracked or whatever without your knowing it. But yeah, as far as preparing for a storm, there's not much you can do other than just wait it out and be ready to act once it hits.
Buckle down.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, Michael, I do want to bring you in for this very last question. If you can just let us know how people can get in contact with you all if they're still dealing with this unfortunate issue.
Yeah, you can reach out to us through our website at vaughtroofing.com or give us a call at 816-761-9859.
All righty, and I think the best advice here, obviously, unfortunately, is just patience is key, that a lot of people are in the same situation. And I know you guys said that your phones have been ringing off the hook since Friday. So I do appreciate
Yes,
you all
ma'am.
taking the time to sit down with me and give our viewers some tips and some advice as they continue to deal with this issue. So thank you again so much, Mike and Michael. I told you it's kind of throwing me off having the same name, but I think it's pretty cool. So
Throws
thank you
me
so
off
much.
too.
Thank
I'm the
you
handsome
so
young
much.
one.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much
very
for
much.
joining
We
me, guys.
appreciate your interest.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
All righty. Again, I am Janae Hancock. I am going to leave you all with this live shot overlooking Kansas City right now. We will be back here on OTT with more news, local and national news.